Hi guys, and welcome back to another review, this time of Greedfall. Greedfall is an action RPG released last year, 2019, and it took a lot of people by surprise. And it's easy to see why, because this game has quite the unique setting. It tries to combine a story about exploration, about intrigue. It's about this land that's newly discovered, full of interesting original people that live there, as well as fantastic beasts, and there are various factions involved, and it's interesting to follow various storylines. The questing in this game is quite good. There are some choices, some consequences. So in terms of design, the way it looks, the atmosphere, especially the design of the cities that you'll come across, it's really very well done, I have to say. Again, because the art style is so distinct, and it seems to work because it combines all these elements with gunplay and swords and magic, and it's like a mishmash of all kinds of things, but somehow it works, and it has this distinct atmosphere. But after that initial awe, you see some cracks through the wall, and this is not an open world game, which I think is okay, it's not a problem, but as you explore the world, you notice a lot of restrictions. You cannot always go where you want to go. There are a lot of invisible borders and walls. It's also quite the lifeless world, with NPCs just standing around, really doing nothing. Cities feel really empty. It doesn't feel alive. Although I do think that the combat in this game is quite interesting. As I said, you can really mash things up. You can choose your character to be a sword-wielding character, or one that uses guns primarily, or one that uses magic. So you can kind of mold your character the way you want it to be. And there's this pause system that you can use, so you can lay traps during combat and use potions. But the thing is about the combat is that many of the enemies you fight throughout the game are recycled, which means that a boss, for instance, in the early stages of the game, once you've defeated the boss will sort of pop up later on in other areas of the game as a regular enemy. You see that quite a lot, and that just kind of feels sloppy and sort of copy-pasted. Also, you get a bunch of companions in this game, and they're quite interesting. There is a good variety of them, and you can also sort of level them up a little bit and give them equipment and armor pieces and that sort of thing. So you sort of dress them up a bit. But the thing is that they almost immediately die in combat. They're pretty useless. They don't do a whole lot of damage, and especially fighting bosses, for instance, you start to fight with two companions, but they almost immediately die in one or two hits, and then it's up to you basically to defeat that boss, which isn't a problem. But why have a companion system in the game when the companions are so weak and just kind of useless? Anyway, the RPG system in this game is very traditional. So you level up and you distribute earned points to various talents and attributes, as I said, so that you can sort of mold your character the way you want it. A problem with this is that in this game you regularly find loot, right? I don't know, a specific sword, or an interesting gun, or an armor, and most of this stuff is leveled stuff, so you cannot use it immediately, which means that once you get your hands on that stuff and you cannot use it, you have it in your backpack, and you have to wait until you've reached a certain level, spend some points on certain attributes, like on agility, to be able to use a specific jump, or to use on accuracy in order to use a specific rifle. And this stuff feels just so old, it makes no sense. And it's one of the essential critique that I had on Witcher 3, because Greedfall seems to borrow a lot of cues from Witcher 3, but to me it never made sense that Geralt would be roaming around the world and finding interesting loot. He would find this great sword that does a lot of damage and all that stuff. and he couldn't use it, which makes no sense to me, really. I mean, do you really think he would find a sword in the world that he cannot use? That makes no sense. So in that way, this game is very traditional. There is this grind you have to go through. It's artificial at times and very traditional, and this game doesn't really set itself apart that much from its peers, so to speak, like Witcher 3 and others, which is a bit of a disappointment, because I do believe that innovation comes from these smaller developers. I don't expect big publishers to come up with something that's truly revolutionary, different, you know, what they've done before. So it's really up to these smaller-ish developers and publishers to come up with really interesting approaches to the RPG systems and the way that we play RPGs nowadays. But unfortunately, Greedfall doesn't really do that much in that aspect. But even so, it is a sympathetic effort. I really had some fun here. You can tell that this developer is growing creatively in terms of design and storytelling. You know, if only it just had a little bit more innovation going on. So I'm really looking forward to what Spiders is going to do next with their next game. So yeah, that's what I think of Greedfall. It's a competent effort, but it didn't really blow me away. So let me know what you think. Leave comments, subscribe. That is highly appreciated, and see you next time.